Talk to me a little bit about Jay Adams and his model that fundamentally broke the ice, right, for the modern biblical counseling movement. His framework is, as you said, it's aggressively recentered, right? The local church is the hub for soul care. But maybe from your perspective, what were some of the limitations of that framework? Where was it helpful? And yeah, just some of those things.
So as I think about this question, maybe two Neuthetic plumb lines that come to mind. Now, when I say Neuthetic, that's what Jay Adams initially called his form of counseling, Neuthetic counseling, that what was once the National Association of Neuthetic Counselors has become ACBC, the Association of Certified Biblical Counselors. And when I say plumb lines, like these aren't published anywhere. This is just me swimming in these waters for the last 25 years, knowing people from the different streams of biblical counseling and going, okay, what is it that I hear a lot when I hang out with folks of the Neuthetic tradition? And so I'll pick two and maybe talk about kind of strengths, weaknesses, the kind of influence that these guiding principles put out there.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
So one would be the Bible is sufficient for the non-medical problems in living. And so, there is this sense in which, we are physical beings, and there's things that need to care for the physical body. But the Bible is sufficient for everything else. And on the one hand, that's a statement that I can say amen to.
Mm-hmm.
If that is our only guiding principle or dominant guiding principle, it begins to treat body and soul as if they're very separate. As if there's very little overlap in the Venn diagram. And I would just simply say that's not true. And so that's why second generation biblical counseling or kind of third generation, what's sometimes called clinically informed, you'll hear an emphasis on we have to take into account the embodied soul, that the soul influences the body influences the soul. This distinction of the Bible is sufficient for the non-medical problems in living is clear, but it doesn't account for the overlay as much. Again, if we just kind of try to make this a little practical, if we ask the question, a panic attack, when somebody has a thought and it arrests them and there's shortness of breath and hyperventilation, tightness in the chest, feels like they're having a panic attack, is that a physical experience or is that a soul experience? Well, the answer is both. And with any given individual, at least I would contend, we may help them starting either right-handed or left-handed. We may move from soul towards body. We may help calm the body towards the soul. That being counseling ambidextrous would be helpful. So that's one plumb line, kind of taking some of the Neuthetic tradition. If we did that same thing again, and we said, what's another plumb line? They might say the only difference between the public ministry of the word, that's like preaching and teaching, and the private ministry of the word is the size of the audience. And if what we're trying to do, which was very much the early aspiration of Neuthetic counseling, is to convey to pastors, you not only have a good role, you have an essential role in caring for your people. And there may be parts about counseling that feel overwhelming and intimidating, and you're not sure where to start. When you take a plumb line like the only difference between the private ministry and the public ministry is the size of the audience, and that pastor begins to go, okay, I think I could do this. Now, if we do that, and we ask what kind of counseling style does that create? Well, it creates a very directive and didactic style of counseling. On the occasion when I preach or teach, I show up with an outline. I don't show up and ask folks, what do you want to talk about today? What's been hard in your life? There's a distinction there when I am doing prepared teaching versus responsive. Now, the other thing that can happen when we say the only difference is we, as counselors, as biblical counselors, it would be very easy to begin to view the neighboring helping disciplines as competitors, because they're not doing expository counseling. And they may be ministering to different parts of the human experience in a different way, but if all biblical counseling is the same thing as preaching just with an audience of one, I'm probably going to talk more than my counselee, and then I'm going to view the other people around as competitors rather than colleagues or companions in trying to help the people that we have a mutual relationship with. And so that's where I think if we think, man, what was Neuthetic counseling initially trying to do? What were the strengths? Every strength has corresponding weaknesses. What would those be? And then the question we'll get to at some point here is like, how much have those been accounted for in the growth and development of biblical counseling?